As we know, a very contaminated waterway, and it's a serious issue that we need to prioritize, and people have been working on it for a long time. And we are at a very exciting time, I think a turning point for this project. So first of all, I feel lucky to be here. And I know that there's a lot of history that's gone into this. I mean, from our side, there was a mandate from the legislature in 2009 to develop a strategic plan to address the issues in the New River. There was a technical committee appointed to develop this plan, which was then worked on in 2010, 2011, and finally approved in 2012, and most recently updated early this year in 2016. And so you can see we've done a lot of planning. There's been a lot of planning, but what I wanted to point out is that we all know that money talks, right? So I think we're here tonight because there's been a lot of planning and a lot of talk about cleaning up the New River and the importance and the vitality that it can bring to this community, but we haven't really had the resources to do that yet. So we are here tonight, as Assemblymember Garcia said, to really celebrate, and I think to emphasize and to communicate that we're very happy to have the first $1.4 million that was just appropriated by the legislature to get down and dirty to actually work on the plan, to actually implement the plan. So phase one of the plan is getting all of the engineering, and Jose will explain this, and getting all of the engineering plans and environmental planning ready to really shovel dirt and to make this project a reality. So we're very excited to have the $1.4 million, which gets us well on our way to completing phase one of the New River Improvement Project. So my job at this stage then, I feel lucky, as I said. I think it's very easy. It's just to thank all of those who have come before me. In particular, Assemblymember Garcia for all the work he and his office have done to get this appropriation, the $1.4 million, the State Water Board for their involvement, the Regional Water Board. I think anybody would be remiss if we didn't point out Jose and Nancy and all the work that's been done on the ground for so long here. I know you guys are really the heart and soul of this project, and so thank you for keeping it alive, and I'm glad we're at this stage. To the Comité Cívico for bringing people here and making sure that the community is aware of the work we're doing and engaged in the planning project itself, in the design and what this project is going to look like, so there's actual ownership and buy-in of this project at the end of the day. And the city of Calexico is proud and is happy with how it turns out. And the city of Calexico, finally, for their support, and we'll probably be needing a lot more of them in the future as we do finalize the engineering plans and break ground. We're going to need all hands on deck, and so it's great to be surrounded by so many dedicated people. And I guess lastly, just to assure you that we are ready to go from planning to implementation. And so again, we're just happy that we have some money to put into this project now, and Jose is going to explain everything that we plan to do and how we plan to get started. So we're all changed from our fundraising hats and our planning hats to our hard hats and our working hats, and we're very excited to enter this phase, and thank you for having me, and I look forward to working with you all as we move the project forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Alexa. And now we have Nancy Wright, Chair from Region 7, Colorado River Basin Regional Water Quality Board.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank Assemblyman Garcia, especially right now, for his extraordinary efforts in getting this funding to start this project here in Calexico. And I'd also like to thank Supervisor Renison, there he is, hello, and I'd like to thank you also for all your help with this New River problems. And I'm going to recognize everybody else, the people of Calexico. Thank you very much for all the work you've had, and also thank you very much for not giving up on the bureaucracy of this thing. I know it's been a long time coming. It's not only a strategic priority of our board, but it's also one of my personal efforts as a board member here. And also, as Alexa said, that it's also a priority of our Cali PA Secretary of Border Affairs and also chair of the Mexico committee. No, not the committee. Excuse me, you guys. I got to get this. Border Relations Council, that's what it is. Thank you very much. Also, it's been 10 months in the making here, and today we are here not for the concept, which we were here 10 months ago, but today we are here to actually give you some information on the actual project that will be implemented to help solve this problem. The regional board's been working with state, local, federal agencies to make this thing a reality, and our board has given the staff the ability and the permission and the will to actually want to come and in regards to the collaboration efforts and to the implementation of this project. We have directed our staff to continue to provide whatever regulatory and technical assistance we can to the California-Mexico Border Relations Council, and to work with the other local, state, and federal partners to implement the project here in Calexico in expediency is a very important part of this. We'd also like to continue to work collaboratively with Mexico and our federal partners so that Mexico too can address the problem at the source. And I'd like to introduce our Assistant Executive Officer, Frank, where are you? Frank Gonzalez, who's back there. Frank will be managing and coordinating phase 1 of this project, and he will also be leading the efforts in Mexicali as well. So I'd like to thank you all for coming out today, and you're going to hear about this presentation in just a few moments. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And next speaker is John Renison from Imperial County Board of Supervisors, District 1.
I can't get up very fast because I have a knee problem, but I'll live. Lexus, nice seeing you again. Thank you for coming from Sacramento. Assemblyman, welcome once again. We've seen more progress here in the last 3 or 4 years than we have in 60, 70 years. The federal government talks the talk but doesn't walk the walk. Looks like the state now has that act together. We want to thank the governor. We want to thank the legislature for finally making it happen. The people of Calexico and Imperial Valley are tired of studies. We're just tired of studies. 1 million there, one over here. Becomes like almost insulting the fact that we're still where we are. But I want to laud you people having come forward here, and because we'll hold you accountable. We're going to hold the state accountable, just like people hold the Board of Supervisors accountable for local issues. We want to hold the state responsible for what their issues and what their responsibility. I'm very excited about the plan. I'm pretty well briefed on it. I support it. I think the Board of Supervisors overwhelmingly supports it. Why wouldn't we? This is a Mexico and a U.S. problem, binational. No question about it. Has Mexico pulled their weight? There's debate there. Have we pulled our weight? Absolutely not. So we're here to fix the problem. We're not here to raise issues from the past and complain about things that haven't been done, but we need a clean slate from here to go forward. We need to make it happen, and if there's any way that the Board of Supervisors can help, please feel free to call on us. I was born and raised in Calexico. I have a big stake in this. I spent a lot of time in Mexicali. So if there's any way I could assist you with binational issues as well, I'm there to help. Once again, thank you for coming from Sacramento. Thank you, Assemblyman, and thank you everybody else for being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so before we get started with the bulk of the meeting, I just wanted to let everybody know that there is interpretation services available. Si quieren escuchar la información en español, tenemos aparatos para la traducción, okay? Okay, alrighty, just wanted to make sure, get that across. All right, so very quickly, just what's gonna happen, how is this meeting gonna play out? I'd like to give you a quick overview of the meeting, the format. Presentation will be conducted by Jose Angel. He's the Executive Officer for the Regional Water Board. He'll present the information on Phase 1 and Phase 2. Right after, following Jose, Luis Olmedo, Executive Director from Comité Cívico del Valle, will provide presentation on the community outreach and engagement for this project. Questions, comments will be held immediately after Luis's presentation. So if you have questions for Jose Angel regarding Phase 1 and 2, we're going to ask you to hold on to those questions until Luis Olmedo is done with his portion. Okay? So with that, I think we can get started. Jose?
Well, good afternoon, Assemblyman Garcia, Supervisor Renison, Madam Chair, good afternoon. My job today is to bring you up to speed where we are in terms of what we call the New River Improvement Project. More specifically, my remarks are going to focus today on the revised recommended projects for the Calexico area. As Ms. Wright indicated, it's been almost 10 months since we last came before you here at a similar community meeting, where we presented an alternative approach to start implementing projects here in Calexico to address the threat that the New River poses to public health primarily. Deputy Secretary Claystover already covered some of this background, so I'm going to dispense with it. Suffice to say that since the plan was adopted and released by the California-Mexico Border Relations Council in late 2011, there was little progress in terms of implementing projects, structural projects in particular, even though we have made substantial progress in implementing non-structural recommendations, mainly through regulation by our board. This gives you an overview of how we divided the river into 5 segments for planning purposes. My remarks today are going to focus on this area, the Calexico area. Next, please. The strategic plan envisions, as most of you know, a river parkway, basically starting on 2nd Street, right down from 2nd Street all the way almost to where the river crosses the All-American Canal, the west side of the All-American Canal. That's a key component of the strategic plan. Clearly, having a river that is contaminated and having a river parkway, I think most people would agree they're two mutually exclusive projects. So obviously we want to address the threat in the state of the New River before the river parkway is built. I'm just going to briefly give you an overview where the river parkway project stands. It's moving forward. You can see most of the engineering and the environmental documentation has been done for that project. That project is under the oversight of Caltrans, one of our sister agencies. The city of Calexico is co-lead for this project. So essentially, they're almost ready to start shoveling dirt also on the river parkway. And we have representatives here on the technical team for the river parkway in case you have questions for this. Let me just go over what the bulk of my remarks are. I'm just going to bring you up to speed. The strategic plan, the revised strategic plan, go ahead, press all of them. One more. That's it. In February of this year, the California-Mexico Border Relations Council accepted revised recommendations to implement projects in this area. The projects, there are essentially three main components for our project. One is a trash screen right here, immediately downstream from the border to deal with trash coming from Mexico. A conveyance system or a pipe, whatever you want to call it, to basically reroute the river, to address the public health that it poses. And building what we call a booster pump station right here, just behind the airport, where the existing Calexico wastewater treatment plant is, and taking treated wastewater from the Calexico wastewater treatment plant and pumping it back at the border so that the river channel carries treated wastewater that meets our standards. Downstream from this area, our intention is to still treat the New River, but use the more natural systems, namely wetlands and aeration structures, to polish the water in the New River. So the three components that I'm going to be talking about are the trash screen, the conveyance system, and the Calexico pump back system. Next, please. This kind of recaps some of the remarks that Deputy Secretary Claystover made when the California-Mexico Border Relations Council accepted the revised recommendations for Calexico. The council formed a core work group to start working on the funding and on the planning and the engineering side to implement it. So from April to September 2016, We prepared cost estimates for the design and the environmental work. We started consultation and coordination at various levels of government, not just local, but also federal. Keep in mind that some of this infrastructure that is being proposed for Calexico is going to be placed in areas that are owned by the federal government, mainly or folks from Homeland Security. So it does require significant consultation and coordination, and to some extent their blessing, at least for the trash screen. We explore various avenues to secure funding for not just for the first phase of the project, but also for implementation of the project. We designated a project manager. We were very fortunate through the efforts, as some of you mentioned, through the efforts of Assemblyman Garcia, that on the very last day of the legislative session, there was an appropriation included to actually, instead of talk about the project, to start moving and implementing the project. We're fortunate to get a $1.4 million allocation for what we call Phase 1. So I'm going to talk about Phase 1 next. We divided the project into two phases, Phase 1 being the design for the infrastructure and completing the environmental documentation so the project can be implemented. That's the way things work in California, and you cannot start shoveling dirt until we comply with what we call the California Environmental Quality Act. And because this project also entails some federal components, we're also going to have to comply with federal standards that are similar to the state standards when it comes down to environmental documentation. So Phase 1 is the design of the trash screen, the culvert, and the pop-back system. I don't want you to think that this is a study. We're moving from the concept to actually designing how these things are going to be placed, where they're going to be placed, how they're going to be operated, meaning the nuts and bolts of the project, okay? Phase 2 is the actual construction. We expect, with the $1.4 million, to substantively cover and pay for Phase 1. We're exploring, and next please, we're exploring various avenues, how to get it done, who's the best person or best entity to get Phase 1. But this gives you an overview of the level of coordination that is taking place at the state level. We report to our Secretary Rodriguez. He is not just the Secretary for Cali PA, but he also happens to be the chair of the California-Mexico Border Relations Council. The council is comprised of 5 cabinet secretaries and other representatives, including an ex-officio member, being USCPA. We have our parent agency that is going to be managing and overseeing the money. We want transparency, and they do this for a living. So they'll be managing contracts and agreements so that we responsibly spend the money. For our part, the water board level, we will be implementing project coordination. We'll continue to assist from a technical and regulatory perspective, but we will try to make sure that all the pieces are fitting together and report back to our secretary, so nothing falls through the cracks. We're working with the State Natural Resources Agency. They're also providing technical assistance, and we're exploring the possibility of the Natural Resources Agency designing the project. They too do that for a living. Caltrans is, as I mentioned before, provides oversight over the River Parkway, but there's also a possibility that they may help us with the implementation phase of this project. My main point is that if you can see there's a lot of coordination statewide, you can imagine also how much more coordination we need to do locally and at the federal level. Next, please. And this kind of gives you an idea. Locally, obviously, the city of Calexico is going to play a prominent role. The project is right through almost downtown Calexico. Obviously, we're looking at tapping into their wastewater treatment plant to take some of the treated wastewater and bring it back to the border. We started consultation and coordination already with Imperial County, the Imperial Irrigation District, the Salton Sea Authority. At the federal level, we already had at least one very substantive meeting. We have had several discussions after that with the folks from Homeland Security, the General Services Administration, who's in charge of the expansion of the port of entry, the Border Patrol. We're going to have to talk with the International Boundary and Water Commission, the U.S. section for sure. We've been talking with USCP already, and we're going to be exploring opportunities for funding in partnership with the North American Development Bank and the Border Environment Cooperation Commission. Needless to say, we're also going to have to get blessing from the Army Corps of Engineers. My main point with all this is not how many bureaucrats are involved. My main point with this is that there's significant coordination that needs to take place to make sure all the pieces of the puzzle fit, and we're going to make sure that they do. I would be remiss if I were not to mention, the substantive support we have gotten from the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations. The Calexico New York Committee, although I don't see representatives here, this was one of their main causes, and they kept it on the front burner. They were instrumental to get us here. Comité Cívico del Valle has always been there too. There are others, but my main point, you heard the expression, it takes a village. Boy, pretty much it's going to take the whole state and a few federal agencies to get this thing done. Next, please. Here's where the rubber meets the road, and this is our commitment to you folks. We're moving already aggressively into finalizing agreements for the disbursement of the funds so that we can get going with the plans. These are engineering plans and specifications to get phase 1 done. We're shooting for a 1.5-year time frame, which is pretty consistent with these types of projects. The environmental documentation may take a few months extra beyond June of 2018, depending who conducts the initial studies for environmental documentation. But that's our schedule. Construction will take place and be completed within 1.5 years after all this is done. Obviously, we need to work on the funding for the construction phase, but again, we're already working on that. Next, please. That was basically the bulk of my remarks. We borrowed your credibility and goodwill back in January, and we're coming back and let you know that you did not waste it. We're moving forward from the concept to implementation. So I'll be happy to answer any questions after Mr. Olmedo makes his remarks, okay? Thank you for your attention.
Now we have Luis Olmedo. He's the Executive Director for Comité Cívico del Valle. Luis.
Thank you. Buenas tardes. And my remarks will be short. I know there's a lot of questions in the public in regards to what's happening. Comité Cívico has been involved on the New River issue quite some time. In fact, we were brought into this discussion by community residents from that live around the Calexico New River, Emma Silva, who's here, and a lot of her partners in the work that they've done over the years. I've had, initially back then, it's been like 10 years, almost 15 years, right? It's been a long time. And I remember back then, I would talk to some of the residents and they said, I've gone to Washington and been out there shaking politicians' hands, local level, everywhere. And it's always a promise that they're going to fix it. And as an organization working for the community, trying to find, ways to bring success, on these issues, it's kind of, it takes a toll over the years to say, coming back 15 years later, it's not a whole lot has happened, but I can tell you a lot has happened, even though there's still not a lot of heavy machinery out there, or maybe no machinery at all. Excavating, we're probably at the closest we've ever been in terms of getting something done. And it started with a bill, AB 1079, that got this New River strategic plan. And I know that I've been out in Washington. I've had meetings out there with my tocayo, Jose Angel, from the Regional Water Board. And I remember, some of the discussions that put a plan together that brings the whole community together, and then elected officials at the federal and state level could do something about. And we're there. Where's Jose Angel? Just want to get his confirmation that, right? And it really is, it's really a proud moment to have this New River strategic plan, because really it's all about that. It's having that roadmap on how to get to finally a product that can help us get to where the vision of the community is eliminating that problem, eliminating the impairment of the New River, whether it's perceived or not. Regardless, It's a real issue. It's been a documented issue, and the community deserves to have a nice New River Parkway. It deserves to have a safe environment in which they don't have to worry. You know, it's been too many years, but it's consistent with the fact that we're a disadvantaged community. We're the furthest from the state seat, which is Sacramento, and historically we haven't had a lot of attention here. But I can also tell you that that's all changing as well. And to see a clear roadmap with timelines and how these things are going to happen, as an organization that has high expectations, I mean, you know, sometimes we're being guilty of being called activists, and we are, because we want to hold people accountable. We want to make sure we hold agencies accountable, and we want to make sure that from this point forward, that resources and monies that are going into projects like this are actually producing products that are of the expectation and are including the community. I mean, more than anything, more than anyone that I want to thank is the community for their patience. You know, they've been very patient, and even today it's almost embarrassing to say there's still not heavy machinery there, but I can say it's going to happen. We're almost there. I want to thank Assemblymember Garcia for being an environmental champion and for making a lot of this success possible through his bills, making this money possible. This is really a first step. I have a lot of high hopes that more money will come as this first phase gets underway. As an organization also, our goal is to provide meaningful community engagement, and I know that the government partners and the community knows, because many of them have been doing a lot of hard work over the years as community health workers or promotores de salud. You know, whether it's volunteers or whether it's paid or whether they do it just because they care about their community. They've been there, and we continue to maintain those channels of communication with the community to assure that they are here. And I can guarantee you that this will double and triple and quadruple as people begin to see some changes, because it's been a long time coming. But I can tell you those who are here have a lot of energy and a lot of believe in their community and care for their community, because I can say that many of them would have given up, you know, a decade, 2 decades ago. But they're still here championing this issue. Again, as an organization, we will work with our community health workers. We will make sure that we coordinate with the media. They are such an important element of the community engagement and outreach, because I can tell you 10, 15 years ago, you know, many of these environmental issues, making the connection to health issues, weren't really hitting the media, weren't really hitting the mainstream. And I see a lot of that changing as well. And they're a very important partner, and today's presence of the media is a testament to that, because this information can only be to those who are here, but we need to get it to even the harder to reach population. Everybody's working 2, 3 jobs. It's hard to get everybody here. And a lot of this information, and when we talk about technical type of jargon, we lose people right away. And so we need to translate that, and that's some of the work that we'll be doing as an organization, being able to translate that information into something that the people in the community can connect to and relate to, making the connection from an impairment, from a public health issue, from a quality of life issue, from an environmental justice issue, and just a fairness issue. You know, we can't have one community just because they're more affluent, because they're more outspoken, because they have maybe a higher level of education, being treated different than our communities just because we're less outspoken, or maybe because we're struggling and trying to meet our priorities, which is put food on the table and trying to keep a job, right? And sometimes even trying to get an education. But we want to make sure that we're able to engage the community in a meaningful way, coordinate with the governmental partners, coordinate with the community, coordinate with research and academia, and ultimately is being able to produce products. The New River Strategic Plan is a result of that, and I want to thank those who have been involved in that. And I know that Emma Rosa Silva, I know you were there as representing the community, and I know maybe some of you are here as well that were there. But other than that, we will be hopefully coordinating with our governmental partners and to make sure that just like meetings like this, we're able to get this information, not just the day of, but continue to get that information in the days to come so that everybody, as much as possible, is up to date on what's coming next. I can tell you, as an organization who fights for social justice, who cares about our community, I see progress, and we hope to communicate that to the community. But the moment that that progress halts, you can rest assured that we're also going to go to the community and ask for your support to make sure we come back to the governmental partners and say, hey, what's going on, right? Why did this halt, right? So we got some momentum going, and we need to keep that going. And there's other pieces that need to be discussed, and I hope today's a good platform to have those discussions, because, you know, the New River, the project that Mr. Jose Angel, Director of the Regional Water Board, mentioned today is one element. You know, there's other elements, and there's many parts to it. You know, it's not just Calexico, but it's the whole stretch of the river all the way to the Salton Sea, which is even a mega problem that we still have to address. But I think right now it's addressing it here in Calexico, because, you know, biggest complaint is things happen everywhere else. Things happen in Mexicali. Things happen to the north, and what's happening here where our community lives. And I think that this is a response to that. Something's finally going to happen here in your community. Hopefully it'll also bring economic development as well and make things, you know, a beautiful place for people to walk. The final thing I wanted to say is, as far as the other elements, there are other pieces to it, you know, such as the River Parkway, and I see some of the folks here, so I'm hoping that they are able to answer a lot of those questions. As I'm sure there's many questions as to what phase is this project at, and you know, where's the investment going, and what's the timeline and the results of that. So as an organization, we commit to making sure that we play that role, and we make sure that we hold everybody accountable, because it's fair. It's the public dollars. These are your dollars. And we want to make sure that money gets here and it gets implemented. And I will ask for all your support, from the media to the community and everything in between, so that we can work together and make sure that we finally get some things going. So thank you very much. Was that more than 15 minutes?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Luis. Okay, so now to the good part, questions and answers and comments. So what I'm going to do is, Luis, can you please stay up front, because I'm sure people will ask questions. So if people who have questions, if you can please raise your hand, I will go over to you so that you can speak into the mic. And the reason why we need that is because the interpreters need to hear the questions so they can interpret correctly. Okay, so any questions for either Jose Angel or with Luis regarding the project, regarding any of the information that was presented today, or questions in general? Anybody? Okay, sir.
John Fahim from San Diego State University. To Mr. Jose Angel, I would like to know a little bit more about the part where the water is going to cycle through the waste plant, or the sewage waste plant. Is that going to treat all the water coming on the river, or what exactly is the process there? Thank you.
I'm afraid I did not explain it as succinctly as I thought, or as clearly as I thought. Actually, the New River itself, the water of the New River is not going to go through the wastewater treatment plant. What we're going to be doing is taking. I'm sorry. Thank you. What we're going to be using is wastewater from the Calexico wastewater treatment plant, which is currently being discharged right about here. And instead of discharging it right here, we're just going to build a pumping plant and reroute it to the border, so that the river channel is not dry and it carries treated wastewater that consistently meets our water quality standards. Did I answer your question, sir? You're welcome.
Any other questions? It's got to be more questions. That was a great presentation. It's good news.
I have a comment. Okay. Good evening. My name is Emma Rosa Silva, and I live on the west side of town, about a quarter of a mile from the New River. And thank you Luis Olmedo, thank you. Assemblyman Eduardo Garcia, you didn't forget about us. And Jose Angel too, and to all of you that are here today. The reason I want to make this comment is because finally, like Luis Olmedo said, something is going to come up from this. We've been waiting for a lot of time. I've been waiting for a lot of time on this. As you know, the west side of town of Calexico is a poor side of, the poorest side of Calexico, okay? And that's where the New River goes through. Because the east side of town, they don't even know about the New River. They don't even know about the New River. They go, what? You know, but we do. We have suffered illness. We have suffered a lot. And it is time for change. It is time to have this project brought up to us. And thank you for the media again. Thank you to all of you. We, the residents of the New River, and there's some of the New River vecinas del Rio Nuevo here today with us. Thank you for hearing our plea. Enough is enough. We are thankful that we have been a little part of that pushing for all of you, okay? Even though we're not heard a lot about the New River, this and that, but sure enough, I do have contact with Mr. Olmedo and with Ms. Angel, and I do give this information to the residents of the west side of town, which I'm very happy to do so all the time. And today is a great day. We, the residents of the New River, have been waiting for this for the longest of the time. And probably I will not see it. I don't know. Hopefully, yes. But I would like that the new generation that is living on the west side of town will be another type of generation, healthier, no asthma, no rashes on their skin, none of those things that are happening right now, okay, because of the pollution of the New River. It may be a little bit of pollution coming from Mexicali, but there's still poop coming from Mexicali towards us, okay? So with all this that you have showed us today, I am very happy. I am very happy to have been contributed to this, and our friends, my friends that are in the back, Mrs. Zapata, her daughter, and my neighbor. I am very happy for them to be here and to hear this. And this will be a new era for everybody on the west side of town, especially the schools that we have there, and the environment there is so dangerous for them, for the kids. Okay, so there's more that I can say, but I like to thank you very much. And don't forget the west side of town of Calexico. Thank you.
Very much. Do you wanna-
I forgot, but I do want to say it. Mr. Renson, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Can you go back to the time table, please? So, there are people here that have been working on this for decades, right? I sat on the Calexico New River Board on behalf of two different legislators, maybe going about 4 or 5 years. I have now the opportunity to work on this directly as the representative for the area. And so for those who have been working on this for decades, right, I can imagine how they feel about looking at the time frame and saying, so we're still 2 years away from construction, right? And I've been working on this for a shorter period of time, and I'm saying we're still 2 years away from construction. But I guess in the big picture, the progress that is being made is significant enough to celebrate, to feel confident about where we're going. But the question remains, you broke it down into two phases. Phase one, design, environmental, and really just teeing this up. My question is about phase two, the construction. Are we breaking that into just one complete phase? Is it several phases of phase two in terms of the construction? And can you give us an idea of what some of those estimated costs are? Because really what I see as my responsibility, I don't know that this requires any more legislation. Maybe pushes as it relates to regulation and some other areas of that nature. I don't know. I will take your guidance on that. But money. I see my sole purpose and responsibility when it comes to representing this area on this project is getting the money. And obviously we're committed to doing that. You saw what happened at the last day of the last few hours to get this money. And it may happen the same way again, it may not. But nevertheless, we have conversations and commitments from governor's office and other members that support my agenda when it comes to this project. I want to know how much money is my counterpart, Senator Wessel, on the other side, going to go ask for and try to get so that we get to the phase two, and is phase two broken up into other phases?
Thank you. Great question. Jose?
Thank you, Assemblyman Garcia. Let me tackle the first part of your question as to whether or not the construction phase is broken into sub-phases. The answer is no, it's just one phase. Okay, so we're looking at about a year and a half to get everything done. In regards to funding, we're looking at a $22 million project. Our colleagues, the Natural Resources Agency, they're working on refining some of these estimates. Our assistant executive officer is meeting with them next Monday so we can narrow the scope of work. But that's the range that we estimate at the water board level. Mr. Gonzalez, during his previous stint with Caltrans, he was the head of the hydraulics department, so he did this for a living, so I feel pretty comfortable with his estimates. But again, the numbers are going to be the numbers, and they're going to depend basically on the difference in elevation at the border and where the river crosses the All-American Canal. The more difference in elevation we have, the cheaper the project is going to be, without getting into the weeds of the project. In regards to the funding, we can certainly, we're exploring. I can assure you that we're turning every rock, every corner, and we're looking also for federal partnerships. We've been in substantive discussions with our folks from Homeland Security who are very interested in the trash screen, to the extent that we're going to have special discussions with them because they may be interested in owning it, provided it meets certain design criteria. As you may know, there's also $20 million authorized but not appropriated yet to the Army Corps of Engineers for New River work. Some of that, my sense is going to go to wetlands that are going to benefit the Salton Sea more directly. So the second leg of our project. But in the next few months, we're going to have a better idea what level of assistance we're going to require, at least at the federal level and at the legislative level. I do want to make this point, even though he's not here. This is very important for Secretary too. It's one of his causes. I can assure you we're not going to drop the ball on this one. First of all, my boss made it a priority for me, so that in itself should be pretty good for me. But anyway, that's where we are. So the bottom line is the construction phase is just one phase. And it makes sense from an economic perspective also. You get more bang for your buck just by mobilizing all the construction and getting everything done at the same time. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Well, again, from the point of view of getting education, academia involved in this, my part with San Diego State University right now is developing new programs in sustainability in the Brawley Center. So we look at the Salton Sea as one of the highest priority in sustainability remedies that is needed for this area. So San Diego State, from the main campus point of view, looking here into Imperial, feels that the Sultancy is a very important point of development, and the issue with besides the issue of the dust control for the exposed playas, the water coming from both Rio Nuevo and Rio Alamo is extremely important too. So definitely this is a great step into that direction that I would like to show my appreciation personally from understanding the value of it. And also for the community, this should be highly regarded as a major step in the right direction. So if there's anything we can do on, I'm having some meetings tomorrow in San Diego in the main campus, and I would like to, I don't know how much they can help in this area, but I can definitely bring this up tomorrow in the meeting and see how much San Diego State University can support, and maybe put added value in the research of the, at least like the pumping station that you're gonna have, maybe make that one study, how to make that sustainable, how to get renewable energy to be used in that pumping station to minimize the footprint, the carbon footprint of this process. So I would like to know who to contact if I come back with some positive support points that I can talk to, and I'm really very interested in supporting this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the offer, and for contact purposes, you can have Mr. Gonzalez, Frank Gonzalez, or myself directly. Either one would work. I think we're also interested in getting support downstream from the crossing of the All-American Canal, particularly with some of the more natural systems. There's going to be some research involved with those, with the wetlands. So I would appreciate it. Let me know what works for you. We can establish a teleconference. Thank you.
Just an additional comment to your offer with San Diego State, and I think you have a great facility in Brawley. I do want to say that also Dean Gregorio Ponce has been very supportive, and in discussions not only with the dean but also with the director Jose Angel of the Regional Water Board. I think we find it very important to see that local capacity is taken advantage of, but also that local capacity stays here. You know, both the capacity and new capacity remain here, because what we've seen historically is that we have a lot of academic support, a lot of research and science support that comes from the outside, and it's not sustainable. And I think you bring a very important point of how important it is to, as much as possible, work with local consultants, work with local academics, do research that is locally coordinated with our university, with our local college, who's also a great partner, I know, of San Diego State University, Imperial Valley campus. But that's something that I definitely encourage, and it's something that as an organization we support, local capacity, taking advantage of local consultants, because it stays here, that knowledge stays here, right? But communities like Imperial, and this is very important, again, we have a lot of the outside coming in. When the money dries out, they're out. And we've seen that. We've seen that through attorneys, we've seen that through consultants, we've seen that through researchers. And then what happens is 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and then nothing happens. But when you have local commitment, it doesn't matter if the money's there. There will be a motivation, a drive to continue to find the resources or leverage resources and build that capacity here. And that's something that we as an organization will continue to push for.
Thank you, Luis. You had a question.
Yes. José Ángel, el proyecto, los fondos, el encasement, el plan, los contratos, los planes del sistema, ¿están en proceso o ya van a estar para el 12-16? ¿Están en su punto final ya? ¿O todavía hay que trabajar más para tenerlos para, por ejemplo, los planos? hasta diciembre 20 del 16 van a estar listos. Yes, okay. My question is this. The projects, I see the tasks, the funding, the grants, the agreements, the contracts, the plans, the preliminary plans, the preliminary trash rack, all that by 2016, okay? Does that mean that, are you still planning, writing? They're not still there, the plans, the whole package? Because like Luis Olmedo just mentioned before when he was speaking, I mean, we're just tired of all these preliminary plans and get the money's here and estimates, specifications, all that. You know, me as a resident, I am tired of waiting and waiting and waiting and then still wait 2 more years and still to see it in within 2 more years or 3 years, a bulldozer, you know, shaving all the contaminants there are in the New River, on the basin of the New River, here in Calexico, because it's still not finished.
Yeah, basically this is what, before we do any of this, we need to hire somebody to do it. And hiring somebody to do it requires agreements and contracts so that they deliver on the work that they're being asked to do. Meaning we're trying to protect the public's trust that we to make sure we get bang for our buck and the money is well spent. So this has been in progress. It's already in progress. This will start by the end of the year because we can't start this until we get the contracts. It's like hiring a contractor. You want somebody to work on your roof, you can do it 2 ways. You can do it on word of mouth and it's not going to hold in court if something goes wrong, or you can hire a licensed contractor. That's basically what we're talking about, protecting the public's interest basically with the money. So that's going to take us about 3 months. And for this type of project, I wanted to reassure you, this is fast. This is fast. Yes?
Yes, I do have another question. You just mentioned about the monies. And you did give a graph, you know, how the monies are going to be spent and who's going to be taking care of the monies. Is Calexico going to take part of handling any of the monies for this project?
Well, Calexico is going to play a prominent role. The entity that is going to oversee the money is the State Water Resources Control Board. I'm sorry. Calexico is going to play a prominent role because there may be leads for the purposes of the California Environmental Quality Act, but the entity that is going to oversee and manage the money is going to be our parent agency, which is the State Water Resources Control Board.
Okay, yes. You're next.
This is just a side comment to all of this, the over picture. I think there's going to be increased harassment coming from the Customs and Border Protection because of these things are making them nervous. And they want more security. They're sending you to x-rays. You're on the phone with the government department. And you're and the EPA asks you to do certain things, and you're being harassed and then sent again to secondary. I think that we have to let them know we're wise to these tactics and they need to ease off.
I just got a quick question. I'm kind of curious if there's been any discussions at the state level about leveraging the QSA, the water settlement agreement, in terms of gaining funds for the project, as it would serve to mitigate impacts.
The QSA stands for the Quantification Settlement Agreement of the Colorado River waters, at least for California. The answer is no. That's a entirely different project. This basically, we're doing a lot of lifting, but it's mainly the state, okay?
Connected to that question is the monies that have been dedicated. So connected to the question, We have had conversations about the funding that's been allocated for Salton Sea in the Proposition 1B, but I think there's overwhelming needs and support that have made the Salton Sea direct projects a priority over funding any of the New River projects from that allocation money. So I just, connecting it to your question, right, that there has been a discussion, but the Salton Sea mitigation projects kind of have overwhelming support and priority of using those dollars as opposed to over here for this project.
Yeah, thank you, Assemblyman Garcia. More to the point, those monies probably are going to be spent on this area, on the areas of the Delta, probably, more likely, because that's where the need is, the immediate need. So it will help, but not here in Calexico directly. Thank you.
Sorry, there was a question before you. Thank you.
I have a question. I understand that the New River is going to follow a new path. My question is, who's going to be accountable or responsible for cleaning all of the leftover metals or chemicals that are going to be on the old New River path? Because I am actually concerned once it gets dry, what's going to happen with all of the leftover metals and chemicals that are also going to go into the environment if they're not taken care of.
That's the problem when you do an engineering concept and you draw straight lines, actually. This is, right now, an overly exaggeration for the actual path that this encasement is going to follow. For all practical purposes, you may just follow the river channel, the existing river channel. Regardless, before anyone starts shoveling dirt in this area, there are studies that need to be conducted to properly characterize whether they're metals and waste or constituents that pose a threat, not just to the environment, but also to public health. So that is part of why this schedule, I didn't put it explicitly here, but we will be doing soil analysis. We're already doing a lot of water quality analysis to make sure that what we leave in place is safe. Okay? Let me just make this other point about the river channel itself. Most of us who live in this area, and I live in Indio, by the way, but I've seen the monsoon rains come down, and it seems like we get the 2 inches at the same time, all at the same time in 1 minute. Some of you probably who live on the west side or here in Calexico have seen the river overflow its banks when we get a lot of rain, right? And Mexicali just about sends everything, right? But the river channel the channel itself should continue to serve the main purpose, flood protection. Okay, this line here that represents the conveyance or encasement system very likely is going to be underground. You're not even going to see it. Okay, and it's probably going to follow, because that's the easier way to deal with environmental issues, the natural course of the New River. Okay, but again, getting back to your question more succinctly, we will make sure that the soils, whatever is in place out there, is properly characterized so it doesn't pose a threat to the environment or public health.
Real quick, Jose, does this require a full-blown EIR, or is this a negative MEG deck, or what's the deal there on the conveyance?
Yeah, my apologies. We're probably looking at a programmatic EIR, environmental impact report, Supervisor Renninson. Yeah, full. No, I think at the project level, once you get to the project level, we will have to do just addendums to it. Yeah.
Pues lo hemos sabido por medio de los periódicos, ¿verdad? Que sí, el interés primordial que hay hoy es el Salton Sea, ¿verdad? Pero pues allá es donde va y acaba lo que entra por el nuevo río y corre a través de todo el Valle Imperial, ¿verdad? Y otra vez vuelvo a decir, I'm gonna say it in English, otra vez vuelvo a decir, los niños del barranco que vivimos en el lado oeste de la ciudad de Caléxico. Somos olvidados, poquito dinero nos dan para callarnos, y donde están los ricos, allá es donde llegó el dinero para hacer el proyecto más rápido. Okay, my comment is this. It's been said, we have read it on the newspapers about the problem that is up there in the Salton Sea. Okay, they have already allocated monies for them. Rich people live over there. And we, the residents of the west side of town, which are the poorest of the poorest, we just got a little bit of money to fix this problem. Okay, okay. And they are very concerned about the air, the quality of the air that they do have over there. But we, as you see on the left side of where it says River Parkway, on the west side, that's where we live. And that the green color, that's the new river. So if it rains, like you, Jose Angel says, and it doesn't rain that much here in Calexico, but when it do rain, I've seen the overflow of the waters, you know, going from here beyond where the first street, the front street, okay? And then the waters recedes, and you can see the crust of contamination right there. And when the wind blows, well, who is the one that are breathing those particles? We are, the west side of town. So money talks, and the rich people get the money.
Just going to make a couple of observations regarding your comment. First of all, I want to let me just share with you, with all of you, this. My board in February of this year had a workshop to establish priorities for the region. Okay, and you're correct. The number one priority was the Salton Sea. The second priority was the New River. And my board made it very explicit that they meant the New River on this side of the border, particularly in the Calexico area. So I don't want you to think, by any stretch of the imagination, that you have been forgotten or second-class citizens, okay? Because you have a commitment from our board to get this thing done. You have a commitment from our secretary to get this thing done, and we have weekly meetings about this project. That's a very first for a secretary to be involved at that level. And certainly the fact that we have legislation that requires some of these things to get done puts the spur. So I would argue, or I would offer for your consideration, that you're in a very strong position and a unique position that you have now champions for this cause, not just at the regional board level, at the secretary level, at the legislative level, but I can tell you also that the governor's office is very keen and concerned about this project, and they wanted to get it done. So from a statewide perspective, you're not a second-class citizen. You're not being forgotten, okay?
Sure. I can appreciate the comments that are being made, and certainly can see why those comments are being made. But let's not get into a situation where we are saying that the air that we're breathing here should be cleaner or better than the air of the people that live close to the Salton Sea, because it's the same demographic of people. Quite honestly, I don't know a lot of rich people that live in Nailan, Calipatria, North Shore, West Shores, or for that matter, closer to the sea on this side of Imperial County. I don't know that many. What I do know is that the air quality problems are exacerbated significantly by doing nothing here or over there, and that the problem over there, I'm not going to say is a much bigger problem in terms of public health, because I don't know that we can measure that from that perspective, but from a physical, geographic, yeah, it is a bigger problem. And you have my commitment as you just heard, to continue to champion this issue to be able to get the money that we need for this construction. So by no means that you or anybody else in this room walk out and say, well, Calexico only got this much and the Salton Sea got that much. We're not measuring these investments because you live on the west side or the east side. We're measuring the investments into these projects based on the timing of where we're at with environmental documentation, with the design for construction. And, quite frankly, there is far more opportunity to turn around a situation here in the New River than there is at the Salton Sea. And so that's why it's a priority for the director. That's why it's a priority for the legislators, because here we have a public health problem, an environmental problem, and an economic problem that by investing here, we actually can turn it around far sooner than anything happening at the Salton Sea. And I'm not trying to discourage the progress that's being made there and the investments that need to go there. So, look, I've said this before. My parents are from Mexicali. Got some relatives that live by the New River that are here with you. And so we have some skin in the game here, and it isn't just talk. And we hope to come back in a few months after another budget at the state, level with news of, hey, we got a little more money from here. We're hopeful that the other partners that he listed will also be able to help us with that effort as well. And to the point about, the security, I understand the points that were just made about that, but there is an opportunity to partner up with Customs here and the Homeland Security Agency. They want to see certain safety precautionary, measures being taken where the screens are. Well, if they want to see that within reason, we're going to ask them to pay for it. We're going to ask them to pay for it so that we can then move that money across the board to be able to get to the construction phase far sooner than that, right? So that's the plan. That's where I'm coming from. And I can appreciate your comments, but I want you to know that we're not selecting, picking, and choosing because there's rich people that live in Nyland and Calipatria. I don't know any of them. I don't know any. I don't even know farmers that live in that area till we could say that they're rich people. But I know that the air that they breathe is just as dirty as the air that's over here, and that they're having to deal with, the problems that exist because of water quality issues.
Yeah, just a real quick addition is I want to say that we really shouldn't keep our eyes off other agencies that need to be involved. You bring a very good point about air quality. I think the Regional Water Board is stretching as far as they can, maybe even beyond their duty to try to address this issue. But there's other agencies like deal with air, deal with toxics, Caltrans. I'm really glad that Frank is here because he's been championing this with us from the beginning, right, Jose? And so we want to make sure that these partners continue to be there and we support them, but let's start looking to see who else needs to be there and make sure that they're also responsible for that because you bring very, very good points. I also want to mention, this is only one part of it. You also have the River Parkway, and is there a presentation on that? Okay. There's going to be a presentation on that right now. You did? Is there a timeline for that? Okay, so I think that's important to see that because you bring something that you have control of. There's another phase that would probably be a good idea to bring it up. Just saying.
Okay, we have a question in the back.
Actually, it's not a question. It fits right in with exactly what we were just talking about. We've been working very closely. My name's Kevin Bryan. I'm working with a consultant for the city of Calexico on the New River Parkway bicycle and pedestrian pathway. Mr. Angel Jose, if you can move the slide back to our checkpoint slide. We did the same, right there, yeah. We did the exact same thing that Jose was speaking about earlier. There is a process. There is a number of agencies that must be discussed and cleared for your project, and it takes a long time. There are a number of agencies. We have completed recently the same thing that Jose showed earlier that needs to be done with the CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, the NEPA, which is the National Environmental Program. All the documentation that needs to be done for that bicycle and pedestrian pathway, which includes a bridge over the New River towards 2nd Street and Grand Plaza. So it will connect all the way from basically the All-American Canal siphons all the way to 2nd or Grand Plaza. So you'll be able to ride your bike or walk all the way from the west side all the way to the shopping. We are complete, as you see there. We're actually 99% complete with our design documents, and we think we will be done by December with the design documents complete, which means we go to bid package and construction bidding, and we think we'll be moving dirt in 6 to 8 months. So we are much closer to actually having big yellow equipment out there, as you said earlier, and actually showing the people in the city of Calexico that the money that was allocated for that project has been spent in an efficient manner, and that we want, our main goal from day one, from 4 or 5 years ago when we worked with Luis Estrada and Miguel Figueroa and the Calexico New River Committee and the Madres de Rio to envision what this was going to look like. We're very close to actually starting to implement that program. So the money is already allocated. We probably need a little bit more money to completely build the trail, but we'll be moving dirt next year. So 6 to 8 months, it will be bid and started. It blends right into what Jose was talking about earlier and the other parts of the strategic plan, which is considered reach one of the river. But we've worked with Jose on this for a long time, and integrally with the water board and integrally with the Mr. Rodarte and some of the other local people, Frank, everybody that's been working on this. We're very close to actually making something out there for the city of Calexico in the dirt that you can see.
No, just on that, because you said 99, but it says 90. Oh, it said 99 now. And there's that 1%, I imagine, a financial cost to complete? So all the documentation phase, without putting shovels on the ground, it's all been paid for?
Okay. Jose?
No,
No?
I forgot the
You
question
forgot the
already.
question. I'm sorry.
I was very well answered.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, any other? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would like to thank Mr. Almeida for his comment about the sustainability of support, because I believe that there is a gap that exists here when it comes to academia or the academic support in this area. I'm a new member of this community. I have been in this community for 6 years now, but I love Imperial. I'm here to stay. I find Imperial to be the promise of renewable energy for the whole United States. So as an engineer that works with sustainable energy and trying to find new energy solutions, this is what I believe is where I belong. So not to really make this a chance to advertise for San Diego State or anything, but I believe we need some homegrown engineers that come from Imperial Valley here. We don't have an engineering degree in this area, so the goal that I'm working for is how we can close this gap, that when we need to make a project like this, we have to import engineers from somewhere else. When we need to build solar farms, we need to import the know-how. I know for a fact right now that when you try to fix or to troubleshoot a solar farm, they bring people all the way from New Jersey to come and do that. So one of the goals of the programs that we are going to put in place is an energy sustainability bachelor's of science, which we want the students to benefit from a project like this. I believe this could be not just a milestone of cleaning the Salton Sea, but a milestone on the education side, where we get the students involved, get internship, and become part of this progress, because that's what will make them belong to improving Imperial Valley. We can teach engineers very well, and then they can go work somewhere else. But I believe that the real benefit of getting the students engaged is when they participate in a project like this. So I believe the support can work both ways. We can get academic and scientific support to the project from San Diego State, and at the same time, the students can get also benefit from participating in the different steps of this project. So I fully agree with you that we need to close the gap of sustaining the academic support. But that, I believe, in my opinion, can happen if we have some, like I said, homegrown technicians and engineers that come from Imperial. When they work on a project like this, everybody's going to benefit from it. Thank you.
If there's no additional questions or comments, I just wanted to close at least my remarks by letting you know that we're going to keep you updated periodically. This is not the second and last, but you will hear from us as progress is made on the project regularly, and you will have periodic updates. Anyway, thank you for your comments and questions and attention.
Okay. Any other questions and comments?
Pues bueno, creo que pedir una disculpa por todos, que no es porque ustedes están así. Ahorita tenemos otra persona enferma de cáncer que vivimos cerca del canal. Ya son 2 que fallecen de cáncer y hay muchas de alergias. Y desde el 2009 estamos esperando. Y yo sé que no son ustedes, pero creo que necesitamos algo rápido. Porque todos nos enfermamos y vivimos en un ladito del canal.
No comments. Okay. Any additional questions or comments? And you guys didn't have any questions.
Bueno, lo que dice mi amiga es mi vecina y es parte del comité de las Madres del Nuevo Río, y también ahorita en la actualidad somos las vecinas del Río Nuevo, ¿verdad? Y hemos esperado, se dijo desde un principio, 60 años, señor Renson, ya vamos para los 70. Y estamos a 2 años, ¿verdad?, para que haga algo del proyecto. Pero las personas que vivimos ahí no podemos esperar 4 o 10 años más, porque ya estamos picadas, como se dice en la lengua mexicana, de los síntomas de la alergia, de alergias en la piel, de cáncer. Y eso empezó también desde el primer grupo de las Madres del Río Nuevo. Se formó precisamente porque una de las señoras de allí era la que tenía cáncer y su hijo, un teenager, fue el que empezó con síntomas de cáncer, y se comenzó por encuestas que hicimos por medio de Comité Cívico del Valle, comenzamos a saber que había no nomás esa familia, había otras familias enfermas también. Graves. Pues para parar todo esto, ¿verdad? Pues sí, esperemos que todo salga bien y que lo miremos, que no nos enfermemos de cáncer, ¿verdad? Porque se van muy pronto las personas. Yes. Just like I was, my friend, who's my neighbor, who lives on the west side of town, that's what it was comment in the beginning about people that we do have suffer from allergies, from cancer in the skin too. And it's been, ever since the beginning, it's been, 60 years? Now it's going to be 75 years or maybe more. But we cannot wait. Okay, I know it's going to take, 2-3 years to see something, okay? But people are dying. Cancer. She just said it right now, okay? There's another lady who just passed away because of cancer. It is something that takes you away right away. And sometimes, I mean, we started it with the Madres of the New River, because one of the residents that lives by the New River, she got sick, and then the son got sick. Okay, so that's what started everything with Comité Cívico del Valle. We did surveys and all that, and then we find out that there were more people sick from allergies, from asthma, from rashes on their skin, dying from cancer. Okay, so cancer is very, very, dangerous. And, well, we just want to let you know that something is been done, but, people that are sick, they cannot wait. Something needs to be done because we're waiting for that. Okay, thank you.
If there are any other questions or comments, we'll go ahead and close the meeting. Assemblymember, did you want to say some parting words?
Thank you for everyone coming out today. Obviously, thank you for all of the agency representatives, all the way from the state to our water control chair, director, and representing the secretary as well. So, muchas gracias por los que nos acompañaron. Ojalá que la información sea de buen uso para también distribuir a los demás en la comunidad. Y como mencionó José Ángel, we're going to be back with another update in a timely manner, right? In a timely, date when we have some substantive information to provide. So, muchas gracias.
Gracias. Buenas noches.